nation, and a million faces formed together, made for elevation. And my soldier won't surrender. Faith is like a fire that never burns to embers. The voice of the unheard. Love is the answer.
I gotta speak it, believe it, that's how I feel inside.
I can't sit here quiet.
You can take my heart, you can take my breath when you pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. Can you hear me? Are you listening? Sleeping in the shadows could be making history. Through the fire, on the water, used to be a slave, but now you are a conqueror.
They can take my heart, they can take my breath when they pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. We're rising up, rising up, we're rising up, rising up, we're rising up. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us.
And welcome everybody to another episode of Straight Talk with Joe Vollano. I am glad you're here. It is Daffodil Weekend, and anyone who missed out on going to the Daffodil Festival here in the city of Meriden, I feel deeply sorry for you because it was not only a good time, it was a great time. It was a great time to see everybody back out and about. Thousands of people showed up yesterday and today, and we had the absolute perfect weather for it. My voice is kind of hoarse. I am sunburned, which is always a good thing. I absolutely love it. But it was absolutely a great time. And I thank everybody, every nonprofit, every sponsor, everyone that went out there and supported the Daffodil Festival. It was a great time. And I hope everyone else enjoyed it just as much as I did. I spent all day there yesterday. I spent most of the day there today. I did sneak away to go take a nap, which lasted about a half hour before I ended up having to go back. But nonetheless, it was still a great time. And kudos to all the nonprofits for getting on short notice, really, getting their teams together out there. And I know some of you are breaking down from the Daffodil Festival still. It ended at 5 o'clock today. So I know a lot of them are still down there breaking down and trying to clean up. So I know that a lot of them aren't on here tonight, but they could watch it later on. But for those of you who are lucky enough to be here tonight, obviously you know who I am. I am Joe Vollano. I am your host and your guiding light, trying to guide us through the nonsense that's going around in our city, our state, and in our country, and just trying to make sure that we call out, people that are acting improper. In the mask of representing us. So, of course, this show always works best when you are involved. So, if you want to call in, 203-679-9610. The number has not changed, 203-679-9610. Or you can email us at straighttalkjv@gmail.com. Or, of course, as always, if you're on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all those good social media networks, you can always jump on the message board. I see it is alive and well here, and everybody is commenting, and welcome to all of you there. So, and of course, again, you can always private message me here on the phone. So if you want to just text into the same number, you're more than welcome to do so also. A lot of things going on, but like I said, Daffodil Festival obviously is the number one thing. Oh, don't let me forget about this. Remember, we are running for office here, so we do have to put in our disclaimer. So, of course, this is always paid for, even though it's not paid for, by the Vollano for Senate campaign, even though we don't spend any money here, and we don't make any money here. But we got to put it here because it keeps people in Hartford happy. So there it is. Well, it was there. You'll see it scrolling throughout the show. So, of course, as you know, we did talk about it last week that we did go from the 83rd race to the 13th, and it is an exciting time. I've had an opportunity to speak with a lot of people over the last week to try to get our feet wet and try to get us in a position to move forward. I thank all the donors from the previous campaign with the 83rd, who has not only worked with us to reimburse everybody, and they have donated it right back to us. So I am grateful to each and every one of you. And of course, since hell, they're making me do this, so I might as well do shameless plugs throughout the show. Of course, if you want to donate today, because remember, we do have to do a lot of fundraising for our Senate campaign. We need to raise $17,800, and we need 300 in-district signatures. So if you're from Cheshire, if you're from Cheshire or know people from Meriden, Cheshire, Middlefield, and Middletown, make sure you send them to Vollano2022.com because they could donate there today. You want to make a difference? You want to help us move forward and get things done? That's the first place we go. Vollano2022.com. You can donate today or sign up or throw an endorsement up there. Always good. If I seem a little stuffy, because I've been dealing with the sinus problem for some reason. I just cannot shake it. No matter what I take, I'm just all stuffed up. There's nothing I can do about it. I don't know why. Oh, yeah, make sure your husband does sign that check, Linda, and then you thank him one more time for me. So again, Vollano2022.com. All right, let's get down to business here, people. Let's get down to business because we do have business to attend to here. And for some reason, my screen here is acting a little funny. There we go. So obviously, everybody knows assessment appeals is now over. So we have done our work. We did end up having to get an extension till to the end of next week because there were so many assessment appeals that we weren't able to get everything done in the time frame that we normally would. So we will wrap things up on Wednesday. But again, thanks to Sue and Tom, who are the other two members of the Assessment Appeals Board. They have worked tirelessly to get things done. And we've gone out with city assessors to do inspections on certain properties where they've asked. So it's been a hell of a learning experience over the last couple weeks. Last year, I thought I learned a lot of things. This year, it was a real eye-opener. Like I said, the perfect storm is coming. And from what I'm hearing, that 32.88 mill rate is not going to be there. It's going to be a lot higher. And listen, on assessment appeals, we're probably going to give back somewhere close to $3 million. That's how many mistakes were in those revals. That's how many revals were wrong. Almost $3 million worth, if not more. I think it was like 3.5 when it all is said and done. So that's $3.5 million in the budget that the council is going to have to sit there and find. It's either that or they're going to have to raise the mill rate. And if they think for 1 second they're going to turn around and blame the assessment appeals for that, they're out of their friggin' mind. I'll be the first one to fire back at that one. Listen, I'm glad we have an assessment appeals board because it is a good place for citizens and taxpayers to have a mediator between the city and them. So, listen, there were a lot of mistakes. I mean, literally whole floors added to assessment to assessments that didn't even exist. I mean, you had some that went down almost $100,000. Some of them. So, you know, we put in a lot of work. We put in endless hours. We were doing 6 days a week the last 2 weeks, getting this stuff done because we're under pressure. We have to be done by the 1st of May, which obviously we're not gonna hit. There was that many, and there's that many errors, and there's that many things we have to fix because you as a taxpayer deserve that. And again, for the government to sit there and say, well, they have to prove. No, they don't have to prove anything. We do. If the government's going to change something, they have to prove why and give the taxpayers an opportunity to sit there and correct it. So again, this was an eye-opener for me over the last couple of weeks. There's going to be many more discussions on how people are taxed in this city in the months to come. Because trust me, for me, this is far from over. After assessment appeals is done, there definitely has to be a review of how things are done in the city of Meriden. When it comes to assessments, when it comes to permitting, when it comes to a lot of things. Some of the stories I've heard over the last couple of weeks will blow your mind. So, again, kudos to Sue and Tom. They've done an amazing job. And to everyone in this, and to the assessor's office. Listen, you may walk in there and see me butting heads with one or two of them. But at the end of the day, you know, all I want them to do is do their job. And all I want for the taxpayers to have a fair shake. That's it. Listen, as a taxpayer, sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to lose them. You know, I don't put emotion into it. You either prove your case or you don't prove your case. And I've talked about that in the last couple of weeks. There's going to be some people in this city that are going to go bankrupt. And I don't say that lightly. They will go bankrupt. I assure you that. There are going to be taxpayers and homeowners in this city that cannot pay these taxes. Especially when their assessments have gone up about 70 to 80. And for commercial, which we're talking about businesses, have gone up anywhere from 200 to 700%. And for the nonprofits that are having their tax exemption stripped away, where's that going to leave them? Heading for the door. Heading out of Meriden. That's where they're going to be. Unless the state legislature takes action, which they didn't. The state legislature wraps up this week on their short session. And we're going to talk about a lot of state issues too. But they didn't take any action on it. So it's left in limbo. It's left to the court system. Which again, is Meriden prepared to take in this revenue that potentially can be given back if a court rules against us? That's just one more thing the city council needs to think of and take into consideration before passing this budget. Which again is not going to be at 32.88. We've heard these discussions, oh, well, that's the starting point. No, it's not going to be there anymore. Right now, from conversations I've had with certain individuals, you're looking at 34.35. You're looking at 34.35 mils, which is now what, 16, 17%? So if your assessment went up 16, 17%, that's going to be the cut even? I don't know anyone that has only gone up 17%, which means everybody here in the city of Meriden is in for a huge tax increase. tax increase. And then again, we'll just confirm and put everything into place. Everything into place for the perfect storm. Everything in place for the perfect storm. And you will see people losing their houses. You will see these landlords that own these 2-3 family houses. You're going to see them lose. You're going to see them selling off to all these investment companies. You're going to see all these investment companies from New York and Massachusetts and everywhere else other than Connecticut buying up these properties. And we all know what happens when you have an obscene amount of absentee landlords. You get blight. And people like Sean, who are on the Blight Commission, Heidi Boyd, and I don't know if Craig Hansen's still on it or not, and then Rick Macri. They do an amazing job over there. But nobody listens to anything they have to say. And listen, I understand it because I was on the Blight Commission, or the neighborhood rehabilitation, as they call it here in the city of Meriden. I understand their frustration because they aren't listened to. And that's just another problem that the city has. And we'll get into that kind of stuff in the coming months. But right now, this council has a very, very important job to do. And that job is to save the taxpayers of the city of Meriden. Save them from bankruptcy. Save them for foreclosures. Because I tell you what, these people are stressed out there. And listen, I understand. I've been there. I've been there. I understand exactly what they're saying. I understand how they're feeling. They want to talk about mental health in the city of Meriden. And how do we help them? You're creating a lot of mental health issues in the taxpayers of the city of Meriden. And I tell you, this isn't going to happen right away. This is a 2 to 3 year process. But we'll start to see the effects in the first year, where we see revenue coming into the city decrease because people aren't paying the taxes because they can't. When they have a choice out of one, heating their house, which again is gone through the roof. I mean, a gallon of oil is $6 a gallon now. You know, again, the people up in Hartford love to sit there and pat themselves on the friggin' back about a 25-cent reduction in gas tax, which again, all fine and dandy because I like seeing money go back in the taxpayer's pocket, but they pat themselves like on the back like they did something fucking terrific. They didn't. On either side. Republicans or Democrats. It is all posturing for an election year. For an election year. That's all this is about. And if one more person that has gas turn around and says, oh, I'm glad I don't have diesel. I'm glad I have gas. You're falling right into their trap. You're falling for it. You're falling for it. Because I tell you what, how does your food get to the grocery store? How does your oil get to your house? How did the electric company send those trucks out to fix your electricity? They do it with diesel, which has now hit $6.30, $6.50 in some places. Over $6 a gallon. You don't think that's going to affect the cost of everyday goods? You think all those tractor trailers that are driving on the highways, they don't run on gas. I'm sorry. They run on diesel. And when you see these kind of prices and you think, well, I'm glad I don't have diesel, that's exactly, you're playing exactly into politicians. This is the problem with politicians. People have short-term memories. I don't know why. They think this is great, 25 cents back, which I already told you, you're not getting that 25 cents back. That went into the company, to the local gas stations and everyone else's pockets. So don't worry about it. You're being played. I just want to make sure you understand that. You are being played right now. And if you fall for it, you're allowing them to do it, which is why they do it. Elections do have consequences. Please, please, please pay attention and put on your hat, your thinking hat or cap. All of this, like I said, is the perfect storm. And if we have such a surplus in this state, which again is a joke to begin with, why don't you just eliminate? Why don't you just eliminate gas taxes altogether, including the diesel tax? Scott, it's not just Democrats. It's not just Democrats. Republicans voted for it too. Republicans voted for it too. And they love to scream that it was bipartisan. But again, it's all a political posturing because guess who uses gas? Voters. Voters use gas. Because most voters don't have diesel trucks and they don't care. So that's why they did gas. And if they really want to do anything, they should get rid of the excise tax on it too, the gross receipts tax. That'll save you another almost 27 cents a gallon. And then we can take away the 44.5 cent tax on diesel. If we have such a surplus, why stop at 25 cents? Don't let them play you. If they do something in your favor, question it. Why? And then research it. Why? That's an educated voter. That's an informed citizen. So they do have the final budget is going to be coming out, the 15th? They vote on the last budget. So make sure that you are paying attention and make sure you're attending those meetings as much as you can, when you can. So, it's coming down to crunch time. And we'll see what happens the 15th. See if we have to have a special show. Because I believe the 15th is a Monday. So 16th will be the vote. Because tomorrow is City Council tomorrow. And then it will be the 16th will be the finalization of the vote of the budget, which will then start the clock for 10 days for veto. So we'll be watching that. We'll be watching that all play out over the next couple weeks. But speaking of council, we did talk about this about 2 months ago with the Boys and Girls Club. And I see that HUD, and again, Colleen Sayre has become like one of my heroes. I know we see things differently. I believe she's called in once before to the show. But she is one of my heroes right now. Because you know what? Listen, officials need to be held accountable. And there needs to be someone watching them. I think someone said it best. They got things aren't done the same way anymore. Like they were, where it's not done like it used to be back in the good old days. No, because now there's people like us watching over them. And there's people like us that are calling them out. And this is a prime example of that. They would have pushed this money right through for the Boys and Girls Club. Now is the Boys and Girls Club, are they deserving of it? Sure. Sure. And will they get their money? Most likely. But there is a process. There is a process. And when you have two sitting city councilor members that are in the two top positions of the Boys and Girls Club, and one of them is running the meeting? No. Board of Ethics said don't do it, and yet they do it anyways. And then when called out on it, they're like, oh, we don't see anything wrong with it. You don't see anything wrong with presiding over a meeting that your own organization is putting forth a proposal for money that is distributed through the city, and you happen to be the sitting city council member and assistant director? You don't see an issue with that? Nothing rang a bell, said, hey, maybe I should listen to what the Board of Ethics said? No, they were right out there. Because listen, they've been getting away with this stuff for years. For decades, they've been getting away with this kind of stuff. They've been getting away with this stuff forever. We've called Councilor Graham out on it. Years ago, we've called him out on it. Because even though in the article he says, oh, I don't vote for it, you were voting for it back then. But now you know there's eyes on you. And yet they still pull crap like this. And they got called out on it. And Colleen, kudos for you, girl. Kudos. And she got now, HUD is investigating it. And now they're trying to put forth an exemption for a conflict of interest exemption. How is that even possible? It's very simple. Here's an easy way to fix it. Just sit out of it. Just don't vote on it. Don't head any meetings. Don't vote on it, and let someone else do it. I don't even know why they were even on this committee. Just get off or just excuse yourself from those meetings, from those votes. You got the support. So I don't know why take the chance. Maybe you figured because you had the support, it doesn't really matter. No. There was a process. There is protocol. And anyone who knows me knows I love process and I love protocols. Just follow them. They're there for a reason. And like I said, will they get their money? I'm sure at the end they will. And they are deserving of it. But do it the right way. There's no need to do it. And again, no one's saying you're doing anything shady. But it's not right. And you know it's not right. And you did it anyway. So now you're going to be held up. So, it is what it is. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks. And we'll go from there. So we got a lot of stuff to go through. So I'm going to keep moving forward. So if anyone saw the article in the newspaper, there are a couple things I wanted to comment on this article, because in good old Record Journal fashion, it begs the question on what the hell are they saying? Because there's a couple things in here in this article, and I love the way it started. First of all, Mary Ellen, I know we have our disagreements every once in a while, but I do love you. I love the start of this article. So if anyone saw the article of our swap, Maryland Republican candidate switches from House to Senate race, I love the way it started. An outspoken Maryland Republican with a weekly podcast has exited the race for the 83rd to run for the 13th. I love that outspoken Republican, because I am. Listen, there's parties, and then there's the people. And I'm more for the people than I am for any party. And that's always been the case. It always will be the case as long as breath comes out of my mouth. So that will always be it. So, of course, it was actually very accurate, with the whole Len Suzy. And again, I thank Len Suzy for the kind words that he put out there. I don't know what a hard charging guy is. I don't know if that just means that I don't care what people think and I just speak what's on my mind. If that is what he means by hard charging guy, then I am all for that. Thank you very much. We do think alike. We are both conservatives. I'm probably a little bit more conservative than Len is, but we'll see. I'm sorry for my stuffiness here. And of course, if you ask the MRTC, of course, it does help with no primary. And it's to them, it's for the betterment of the party. Think sometimes I might disagree with that. I think sometimes it's great for a party to have primaries, especially when you see a party go in two different ways. Within a party, you're seeing it go two different ways. Sometimes the primary is good to kind of bring things back to a center point. But it is what it is. We decided to move over to the Senate, and we are going to put together a great race there. Obviously, this is a swing district, so it is very important, this district, which is another reason why I felt compelled to go on this ticket with this 13th Senate race, because it has been a swing. It's been going back and forth between Len Suzio and Dante, and then, of course, Mary takes it back when Dante didn't run. But hopefully this political climate now, I think, is prime for Republicans. We're going to get into that if we have time. We'll get into some of the polls that have been coming out over the last couple of weeks, not only through the state, but through nationally, which is really, really troubling if you're a Democrat. Now, does it mean you're in trouble as a Democrat in a blue state like Connecticut? We'll find out, and obviously, as we do more polling, we will just figure out where the people are at. But as of right now, just on a generic ballot, Democrats are in some trouble. But the article did go on, and for the first time, they mentioned the show, because I know for the Record Journal, that must have been tough. That must have been really, really tough for them to have to put Vollano 44, which I am 44. I look like I'm like 30, right? I don't know why they put 44 in there. I look more like 30. They never told me how old my opponent is. I mean, what the heck? But he has a podcast, Straight Talk with Joe Vollano, and it's the first time ever that they actually mentioned it. But yet they love. If no one's ever watched it, I do watch it every once in a while. There is a Wallingford podcast called Citizen Mike, and that's from a Democrat. He's a former Democratic counselor, and they love talking about their shows. So I just find it interesting. But yet, they only talk about our show when on a need basis. Even though we've probably stopped more things in the city of Meriden than anyone has. But I like how she went after that, where he discusses state, local, and national issues, including concerns with certain members of local Republican leadership and Democratic governance. So, while it is a true statement, I do have concerns with certain members of our local government. And obviously, we've mentioned them here on the show. Again, I think that's a plus. I think that's a plus for us. Because, again, we do have cross-party appeal, which I think is good. It's needed, especially to win a seat like this, which, again, another reason why I was compelled to move over to this seat, because I do think we probably are the best choice or the best opportunity to win this seat. And it's going to take independents and Democrats to come over to our side. And I tell you what most Democrats and most independents like is honesty. And don't try to blow smoke up there, you know what. Just tell them what you think and call it a day. If they agree with you, they'll vote for you. If not, so be it. Move on to the next. Nothing worse than a politician that would just try to cater to each and every voter. It's just not going to happen. So, as always, even on this show, we speak the truth. We speak the fact. We will always do that. And if you agree with us, great. If not, well, good luck. But from what I've seen, a lot of Democrats and a lot of independents like what we're doing. So I thank each and every one of them because they've donated to the campaign. They have offered to put signs up when they come in, and they're going to do some door knocking with us. So I look forward to that because everyone knows, anyone who's seen me run a campaign before, I love door knocking. So, we'll see what happens. You're always well, that depends. That depends. Am I always approachable? Well, I guess so, because even the good and the bad. Because even city councilors love to come at me and start screaming and yelling at me, I guess. So I guess I am approachable. Maybe they just look at my face, they see red, and they want to sit there and yell at me. That does happen. I was yelled at today at the Daffodil Festival. So somebody apparently did not like what happened with the Board of Assessment Appeals. So apparently they just take it out on me, even though it was the fault of their own. But it's part of listen, as I always said, when you get into politics, have very thick skin. If you don't have thick skin, politics is not for you. Just stay out of it. Go knit or something. So, of course, I do. So he owns a fuel supply company, which obviously I do. I own Filler Up. And then an offshoot of that with Gargiulo's and Corporal Heating, which I acquired over the last 2 years. And, of course, he's a member of Board of Assessment Appeals, where, of course, we've been hearing that stuff. And I do welcome the opportunity. And, again, I said this, and I mean it. I do welcome the opportunity to take on the Democratic candidate. And I don't want to jack up her name, Jan Hochadel. I don't know if I pronounce it right. Maybe one time we'll have her on the show and we'll just have a nice friendly conversation. So this is the part I took insult to. I took it, and I don't know how to do this because this didn't bother me. It says, contacted Wednesday. She says she was not familiar with Vollano, but also welcomed the debate about the issues. The fact is, if you are involved in Maryland politics in any level, and you do not know who I am, that's problematic. That means you're not paying attention. That means they're throwing someone out there that's just not paying attention. Or she just doesn't care. Because I would think if you're involved in Meriden politics, I can't tell you one Democrat on the Democratic Town Committee that doesn't know who I am, and I don't know who they are. Especially if they're outspoken. So the fact that she doesn't know, I don't know. Joe Gallo is also running for the 13th. He was a former city councilor. Got it. Galati. Is he a Democrat? I'm taking it because he's not a Republican, obviously. Or is he an independent? If he's an independent, that's even better for us. So I haven't seen his paperwork filed, though, Craig. So he might not have filed yet. That's probably why. At least he hasn't filed yet. So here's where it got interesting, because this is where I really have an issue with. This is really where I have an issue with the Record Journal. And the first question was, I don't understand. So obviously, the Record Journal. So Mary Ellen talked to Millie, one of my favorite people in the world, and she responded to. I said having a union president in the House or Senate is problematic, and she didn't put in there the reason why I said that. And I say that because she's a union president, and we have contracts with the unions that she's now going to be voting on, which again is a conflict of interest, and therefore would be an issue. So when Millie turned around and responded to my statement, I don't understand why Joe Vollano thinks being a union president is problematic. Why I had actually told Mary Ellen why. And I'm taking it Mary Ellen never told her. And she went on to say about her being a teacher, which is all fine and dandy. She came through the vote tech system. Again, a state system. She knows the value of education on students and businesses. And she knows the system and the legislator. I bet she knows the legislator because she's probably been greasing them up for years, which again is problematic. And again, our campaign will take no money from lobbyists. If you ask me what's the biggest problem in government is lobbyists. So we will be taking no money from lobbyists because the only people we lobby for is the taxpayer and the citizens of the district that we represent. And I say we because I may be the head of that ticket and I may be the voice, but it's we that make the decisions. And we will make those decisions based on the greater good of the district. That's how I represent the people. Well, some people like decisions I make. Well, some people not like decisions I make. Absolutely. But they'll be here on this show still every week. And they can call in to voice those opinions and voice those agreements or disagreements. This show will always go on, no matter what side of the outcome it comes, even though we are going to win in November. This show will continue. And it'll be a great outlet for each and every one of you to come. It's a great outlet now for them to come. In fact, if any of our Democrats, I see a lot of people just jumped on. So in case we, any of you jumped on, call in 203-679-9610. Always feel free to call in. I'm always happy to have a conversation on any matter. There is no subject that is off limits here on Straight Talk. We cover everything. The good, the bad, and the ugly. But this is my favorite part. This is my favorite part from Millie. Because Millie always loves to sit there and try to take digs at me. Nurses and teachers and nurses trusted her to represent them by voting her in as AFT president. She brings a much stronger skill set than Joe Vollano does. What has Joe done? I don't know. Let's see. Represent the people. I try to do the best to bring issues out. I stopped a lot of the Democratic nonsense that they try to do. I don't know. I pay a crap load of taxes in this freaking city. I don't know. I own a business in the city. I bought 2 more businesses that I bring to the city. I don't know. There's a lot of things I think I've done. I think I've done a lot. And that's only a start. I contribute to a lot of the organizations here in the city, a lot of the nonprofits, a lot of the sports and education. Wow. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that we do. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'll take my skill set and what I've done in my past and business-wise and corporate life and in small businesses. Yeah. Don, we can talk about anything you want, sir. Do you want to talk about something other than politics? Wow, like what? Now you sparked my interest, Don. Do you want to talk about fishing? Because I do love fishing. We'll start giving away secret fishing spots. From the photo I see that it looks like you do some striper fishing. So yeah, so that was the article in a nutshell. Which I always find interesting, and I can't wait to actually have more of these. Well, we can find. Well, you let me know, Don. When you figure it out, we're going to talk about it. We're definitely going to talk about it. So, like I said before, because again, we do talk politics on this show, which is what a majority of the show is focused around, to make sure that you are an informed voter, to make sure you are educated on what's going on. So, like I said before, we do is a short session this time around, and this week it comes to an end. And there are a couple things they have done. They have extended, because of course it's an election year. They have extended the gas tax cut. So the 25 cents, they have extended it until December 1st. Why not just forever? If you could do without it to December 1st, Why can't you do it till, let's say, June 30th of next year? I mean, it's not like you... If this is nothing more, people, this is just another example. This is just another example. This just like really just cuts into every penny from the gas tax is supposed to go into the Special Transportation Fund. And it's supposed to be used to fix roads and bridges. But a majority of that money never reaches there. Never reaches there. Instead, it reaches the general fund where they squander the money away. So, if you're okay with not having it now because you have a surplus, then why not just get rid of it? If your surplus is good, you're going to be good with $600 million in tax cuts coming. Just get rid of it until at least January 30th of next year. So for any of you who don't know what June 30th means, the fiscal year for the state and even for the town is July 1st. July 1st through June 30th. That is a fiscal year for government. So, and Ed, I've been screaming that the diesel tax hurts more than anything. But again, taxpayers, and mostly, more importantly, voters, 90% probably 95 to 98% use gas. So they fall for it. So they have extended the gas tax until December 1st. But at the same time, they have not extended the free buses. So, if you ride the bus and you're happy about having it free until June 30th, yeah, it's going to end there. So, or July 30th. Then yeah, it's going to end there. So, listen, you're absolutely right, Jim. Most voters don't understand the consumer commodities. Listen, it's a lot more difficult than that. Listen, I'm in the business. I still can't figure out what the hell is going on right now. I still cannot figure out what the hell is going on because none of this makes any sense. Now, if anyone who doesn't know, when you see the oil price, the crude oil price, that's a 90-day out. That's where they see it 90 days from now. It's a future. And none of this makes any amount of sense right now. So don't try racking your brain to try to figure it out. But hopefully it's going to correct itself. And when it starts to go down, it's going to go down hard and fast. But something's got to be the catalyst to start that. And what that catalyst is going to be is still up in the air. No, it is not because of Russia. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If anything, I would say this is because the United States went to OPEC and begged them to increase production. And what they say? No. No. And does anyone know why they said no? Because it was an opportunity for them to kick America while they're down. Listen, the world knows, the world understands that America is weak right now. Whether you want to believe that or not, America is weak at this moment in time. And if you think they're not going to kick us when we're down, you're greatly mistaken. If you believe in New World Order and you believe in global economics, this just gave you a kick to your stomach. Because you're going to soon realize that that Donald Trump was once again right with this America First outlook. America first. For all those who said, oh, you can't just think about America. You got to think about the world. The world could care less about us. The world does not care about America. So all you globalists and all you New World Order people, you are finding out real quick how much other countries and other organizations respect us. They don't. Not anymore. They did. Because they only understand strength. They only understand strength. And when you are weak, they sense it. They sense it and they will attack. That doesn't mean war. That doesn't mean it is. That means through things like this. When you give up your energy independence, you have given up control and power to another country. Donald Trump was right. Again, there will be no leftists here that will ever admit that, though. And they'll sit there and be gladly pay $6, $7, $8 rather than say Donald Trump was right. And that is no lie. They will pay $8 a gallon for gas with a smile on their face. As long as it means they don't have to say Donald Trump was right. But he was. So what else is going up at the state? And I'm sorry, Don. We'll eventually get to something non-political for you. But these are the things that you need to care about. These are the things you need to care about. Because right now, up at the state capitol, they're debating certain bills that's gonna give student loan debt relief, but not just to everybody, just to a small group, just to the nonprofits that are dealing in healthcare. So if you're in mental health, of course. So if you got a student loan for anything else other than to go work for a nonprofit, you're screwed. But if you work for a nonprofit, and I know a lot of social workers out there. In fact, one of my favorite people is a social worker. If you work in that industry, no. Don't worry about it. The state got you. We got extra money. We got extra money. We're going to help. We're going to pay your student loan for you. Because you're stuck with $100,000 of student loan debt. And and the girl that they're talking about here has no idea how she's going to pay it back. How is that the taxpayer's fault? If you take out $100,000 of student loans with no idea on how to pay it back. That now becomes my problem? Your problem? The government's problem? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I guarantee you this is probably one of the things that my opponent is probably all for. And I can't wait to talk to her about it. We don't get to pick and choose winners and losers. If you made a conscious decision to take out $100,000 in student loan debt without any idea on how to pay it back, that is no one's fault but your own. But I will ask the question one more time, because I've asked this question many times throughout the years. Why is it costing $100,000 to go to college? Don't give me that interest rates is a big issue for them. Stop it. Stop it. They're paying like 2.5% on these loans. Stop it. If you went and got a mortgage, you'd be paying 4.5%, 5%. Please. And if the interest rate is a problem for these guys, isn't it a problem for everybody? And then at the end of the day, Sue, well, let's take that a step farther, Sue, and say who runs the student loan program? It's the federal government. Because if anyone remembers under Barack Obama, they took the private sector out of it. The government knows best on how to run it. Please, let's not go there. Let's not go there. If you took out that student loan, you knew damn well what it was going to cost you. And if you can't pay it back, that is no one's fault but your own. That is certainly not my fault. Certainly not mine. And certainly not any other taxpayer. Because what, is it going to start with nonprofits? Where's it going to go next? Where's it going to go next? It's just absolute craziness. There is absolutely no personal responsibility anymore in this city, this state, in this country. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about personal responsibility anymore. It's always somebody else's fault. It's always somebody else's fault. So, Sue, do you think she was responsible enough? And if she was low income, there's other programs. There's federal Pell Grants that she could have gotten. I'm sure there were other grants and opportunities for her to go. Did she apply for them? She is not a victim. She or anyone else, not just to point out this poor girl, anyone, you are not victims. I worked 3 jobs when I went to school. And I had to pay my own student loans. So no. But again, the government loves it. You know why? Because this is a voting block for them. Hell, look at our city council. Half of them work for nonprofits or work for the government. It's a prime example. Why wouldn't they take care of their own? Why wouldn't they take care of their own? That's why I said I would love to know where my opponent falls on this. Because I'm sure she's all for it. My question is, again, why is it costing $100,000 for in-state tuition? That's the bigger question. Because that's the root problem. This is just a symptom of the problem. $100,000 student loan debt. That's just a symptom. That's not the root cause. And interest rates, not the root cause. Why is it costing UConn going up in their tuition again next year? Why? Why? I mean, all you liberals out there love to sit there and bash corporations. Why is your CEO making $5 million? Why is your CEO making they're getting stock options? Why is the president of UConn making almost $3-4 million a year? Why are most of their department heads making $250,000 to $300,000 a year? But they don't want to answer those questions. They don't want to talk about that. Corporations are bad. Corporations are evil. But schools, liberal schools, no. Can't talk about them. Can't talk about them. Let's not go there. That's why this poor girl's in $100,000 worth of debt. No other reason. Because the education system has put her there. Under the disguise of, we're changing the world. No, you're not. You're putting kids broke. And you know what? The teachers' unions, the professors, all these other unions are more than willing to sit there and do it to these people. Why? Because then, when they get out of there, they have to do shit like this. And then it just puts that hook into them. Now they're a Democrat forever. Now they're a Democrat forever because they are now reliant on the government. They are reliant on the government, which is what Democrats love. That's what a far leftist die for. They want everybody to sit there and be reliant on the government because it amounts to votes, nothing else. As with anything else, follow the money. And money equals votes. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a terrific campaign season. I am fired up, ready to go. And I can't wait to bring these issues up because we are going to talk about them on a weekly basis. And we are going to call out the hypocrisy of the other side. And hey, every once in a while, there are going to be some Republicans that fall into this also. I guarantee you that. Because there are some Republicans that are all for this kind of stuff too. But they're called rhinos. They're not really Republicans. So we'll talk more about this issue as we go along. And look at that. It's already 8 o'clock. I do have two quick things I do want to talk about. Because, again, we talked about it earlier with this whole the midterm. And some of these numbers I was finding is actually quite amazing to me. And the first one is the one I really want to talk about. A new poll just came out. And it turns out that 52% of Latino voters, and this comes from a liberal. This comes from Quinnipiac. So they're as liberal as they come when it comes to polling, especially when you look into their numbers, percentage of Democrats versus Republicans actually polled. 52% of Latino voters would choose a Republican over 30 compared to 39% who would vote for Democrats. Does anyone know what the largest and fastest growing population in America is? It's Hispanics. And if anyone does not believe that Hispanics are the key to these elections, is grossly misguided and should fire anyone who says otherwise. It's funny because I just had a meeting the other day with some campaign workers. And we were talking about this exactly before this poll even came out. I said, no, we need to do some major outreach to the Hispanic community. And I want it starting now. Because I know this. You can see it. If you looked at the last election, you could see it. They are starving for information. They're starving to be recognized. Now, listen, we could talk about the whole legal, illegal thing. I tell you, most Hispanics do not like what's going on at the southern border. They don't. Because most of them came here legally. And they don't like this whole border crossing illegally. So there's just one very interesting thing. But here's the second interesting thing. Democrats also have lost the under 45 vote, where 50% now say they would vote for a Republican than a Democrat, where only 40% said they would vote for a Democrat. Ladies and gentlemen, these are huge numbers. Huge numbers. And for the first time in the first time, this is the very first time Republicans in a generic ballot has led the poll. It's crazy. That's where the voting public is. They are starving for information. They're starving for a new direction. They're starving for it. And they want someone to tell them that everything's going to be okay. And here's a path forward. Here's a path forward. And Republicans are the only ones doing that. Democrats are still, I don't want to say Democrats, liberals are still blaming Trump. They're still out there blaming Trump on a daily basis. When they have nothing, when they can't talk about any accomplishments that they have, which they don't have any, they just blame Trump. You would think that Trump was still in the White House. It's absolutely crazy. I wanted to get to this, but we're going to save this next week because this is going to take a lot more. This is going to take a lot more in-depth conversation that we need to have. And so Rachel Levine, who, if you don't know, is the transgender assistant of, I want to make sure I get her name, her title correct. Where is it? Assistant Secretary of Health, Rachel Levine. She is the highest ranking transgender person in the U.S. government. And made the outrageous comment that pediatricians all agree on the importance of gender-affirming children for gender-affirming care for children. So I am going to hold off on that. If that wasn't a teaser enough for next week, we're going to talk about gender-affirming care for children. Because listen, the education system wants to get involved in this. The education system is saying they know better. And they can sit there and start doing things with your children without you knowing about it. Because you don't have a right to know. When it comes to puberty blockers and all sorts of crazy things. You don't deserve as a parent to know. So there's your teaser for next week. That's what we're going to talk about. That's going to be one of the issues we're going to talk about. Listen, like I said, nothing is off limits here. So we will have everything. We will talk about this next week. We're going to run out of time here. I don't want to go another half hour because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take about a half hour with all the documentation I have that I want to go over. So, again, as always, everyone, thank you. Thank you for being here. And again, if you worked at Daffodil Festival this weekend, thank you again. You did a terrific job. It was a terrific experience. I love seeing it after a 2-year hiatus. I love seeing it back. And you know, it was just a great time all the way around. Thank you for I was doing the Republican booth today. I ended my day today with We the People, helping Wendy out, do some cotton candy, which I still have all over me. You guys just can't see it, but I do have cotton candy all over my shirt. But you just can't see it because it's pink and this shirt is pink. So it actually worked out for me. And of course, as you all know, we are running for office. So since the government's making me put all these disclaimers on, I'm going to take a lot of shameless plugs. And if you want to donate or sign up to work on the campaign, Vollano2022.com. Feel free to donate there, to log on and give an endorsement in the endorsement page. Make sure you connect with the campaign if you want to door knock or hand out flyers. There's all sorts of things we need to do. As you all know, it takes a lot of work to do these, but we have to do it together because one person cannot do it alone. So until then, guys, I love each and every one of you. God bless you. And as always, God bless this amazing country of ours. I love you. Good night. And I will see you all next week.
And a million faces born together, made for elevation. I'm a soldier, won't surrender. Faith is like a fire that never burns to embers. The voice of the unheard. Love is the answer.
I gotta speak it, believe it, that's how I feel inside.
I can't sit here quiet.
You can take my heart, you can take my breath when you pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. Can you hear me? Are you listening? Sleeping and the shadows could be making yes